Good morning, everyone. Lizoomer is back. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to talk with you guys. Today, I want to talk about the age of feeling behind, the generation that felt left behind. I know the usual normie answer to why everyone feels, behind, feels like all of their peers are going so much faster and so much farther than themselves is due to social media and all the normie con answers. And, they're not completely incorrect. Like social media, Instagram, the likes, they do have a massive impact even if we don't fully realize it yet. Even in our just perception of the world, right? But I do want to talk about feeling left behind success wise, feeling that everyone else is doing amazingly except for you. For the vast majority of us lads, it is a complete and fabricated lie. And I want to tell this fun story I have about this guy that I was told about recently. This guy is a friend of a friend. I never actually knew the guy. I just have multiple friends who know him very well and who like him a lot and who are very close to him. So the guy, well, I was doing my master's in finance back in the day, and this guy was doing some, bullshitty masters in marketing, communications, who cares, who knows, in Dubai. He was giga short. He was like 5'5", or 160 centimeters around there. He was, a lanklet. Well, just lank actually, not even lit. He was a bit chubby as well, so I get, just skinny fat at this stage. Not a particularly attractive or good-looking guy face-wise. Bit balding too, age like 25 or something. He was gay as well, which, I'll reserve judgment on that, but you can make your own. And all he had going for him was just like he came from a really good family, and he was the gay socialite type. So he had plenty of friends. He was very outgoing, and in class he had like a bunch of girlfriends, that like would invite him to all the parties and like do all the woman stuff, and he'd be the gay friend there. Anyway, the guy is like, I have nothing to envy from him, right? He's the polar opposite of me. He's like, left wing and libertarian as much as you can on every single issue in the world. Like, just my complete opposite. He ascribes to just too many things that I would find despicable, so on and so forth, right? A through and through degenerate. Um, anyway, this guy ends up, I think a year ago, going back home because he couldn't find a job in marketing in Dubai or whatever the hell he was trying to do there. And I think 2 months ago, I have a friend over. This friend is this other guy's friend, best friend, whatever. They know each other very well. And he tells me, hey man, did you know that Anon is actually doing super well? He moved away from Dubai, he went back home, and now he's created this company. He's got a girlfriend. He's doing super well for himself. The company's growing. He's got employees. Yeah, and like he's just become a self-made man. Everything's amazing for him. Wow, wow, man! I'm so happy for him because he was a good friend of his, right? And I'm just sort of like there, just thinking to myself, God damn, if even that guy can make it, and start his own company out of nothing, because he's literally, he comes from, well, not nothing, because his family is privileged, but like the guy is a natural born loser, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm thinking, damn, if this guy can make it, like I'm falling behind. I need to start, get my act back together. And then we keep talking, the night goes on, we smoke a few cigars, get a bit drunk, and he tells me, yeah, and eventually I inquire about this guy, and so, I just ask, oh, how's he doing? Yeah, like, how did he turn his life around? Last time I checked, he was just a loser, a bit of an idiot, kind of gay and everything. How'd he get the girlfriend? How'd he get the job? I mean, not the job, his own company and everything and everything. And so, going from gay to straight, that's his own problem. But apparently, how he created his business is that somewhere in Sardinia, his family had a massive not empire, but enterprise for sure. In like import export warehousing stuff. I didn't really get it. Basically, his family is into, harbor, warehouse, stocking and selling, that type of business. And he basically built a company leasing his like dad's old vehicles or something along those lines. So basically, his dad had a massive tractor that he didn't really use much, or a big van that sometimes off season wasn't being used much. And the kid set up a company, basically a subsidiary, you know what that is, basically like a smaller entity of the bigger entity, leasing out these vehicles and sometimes, doing a bit of rent, this, that, the other. So anyway, that changes the deal completely, right? Because I had in mind this guy had out of nowhere created this new company, out of the sweat of his brow, like just the good old way. But no, he just mooched off his daddy. He just leech maxed, and now he's got this company. He's doing well for himself. So what I'm trying to say here is that these people, for the most part, whenever you see, especially the Instagram types, right? Especially if they're the flashy types who like to talk about themselves and post picture about their flashy life online, a lot of times it's just pure bullshit, right? And I mean this in the most sincere and nicest way possible too, because I post occasionally on the old gram. Gotta flex for the hoes sometimes, But yeah, it's all bullshit from beginning to end. I've yet to find a single friend of mine, either from high school, because I went to a pretty privileged high school, or even from college, which, was even more privileged. I've yet to meet a single one who actually was, the real deal, basically. The way I think about it these days is if you have a job, you have a decent salary, and a GF, and a cute girlfriend that loves you and, isn't a two-faced whore, honestly, you're just way ahead of everyone else. Not everyone else, of course, but you're ahead of a solid 90% of the rest of people. Because my friend groups, they fit into two categories. It's either the types who, like, they have basically no support system, so they have no family to rely on, they have no, wealthy or just like, well-made friends, basically like well-brought-up friends who can like help them financially if they ever have a crash, if they ever have issues. They're just people who like sprouted out of nowhere, out of pure willpower, and they're making their way forward. And these people, I rarely find them flexing on Instagram. Most of the time, they just don't have time for that. A lot of them work in investment banking, M&A type stuff, and you just physically do not have time to be flexing on Instagram. Whereas all of my other friends who I went to school with, who came from, deep, deep privilege, so like some guys have chateaus, some guys come from, tech dad backgrounds. Others have like very artistic families where the dad's a violinist, a very popular violinist, and the mother, does opera or some shit. And these people are the ones that I always see on Instagram, always telling you all about, how the hustle paid off, how the grind was worth it, after doing, some 6 months internship and making like poverty wages, going to South Italy on a yacht with daddy's money. These are the people that you'll always see on Instagram. Which underlines my point, never ever believe these people. So yeah, I really do feel that like every single kid flexing on Instagram that could even spark the slightest slimmer of envy from me. I just know, I just have the deep down secondhand reflex to just know that this guy is not at all what he says he is. And that the story behind is always, almost always going to be some weird fix with his family or some weird fix with his family for the most part, let's be honest. It's never, under a 30-year-old, if you're flexing, like nice clothes, nice cars, whatever, let's be real, for the most part, for almost everyone, that's just pure bullshit. Of course, like I do envy their life, because it does look pretty fun. But to pretend for a second that they made any of that is pure cope. Now, of course, the reverse is not true, right? You cannot afford to like not desire their life because their life is very desirable, you know. I'm talking about the Dan Bilzerian types, you know. It just sounds like good fun. To like say that, you know, you would not want this type of life even if you had the means. That's pure cope. Because realistically, if we had the means, you know, we have no idea what we'd do with all that money. So what I'm trying to say is both sides are true, but the goal should always be, you know, to emulate such lives, but never for a second to believe that these people are real in any sense of the word. The only, you know, the only real people that I know in my social groups, just people that I see from where I live, the only real ones, they're just grinding a 9 to 5. They're just trying to make ends meet for the most part. Most months their bank accounts end at zero. Like this, it's not the most glorious existence, but it's still a fun one for most of them anyway. So yeah, just quick little story, quick little tidbit. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. But I do hope, you know, to see less blackpilling on the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 commentary sector of YouTube, because I do fucking hate just the black pillars. Just always reminding you of how everything sucks and how everything will never be good and how it's only getting worse. I am here to tell you that there are many, many paths to the top of the mountain. And once you're on it, once you're on your own path, not only is the path fun, but the destination is amazing as well. Because most destinations today, you know, in a capitalistic world, end up with just buckets of money in your pockets. You know, you might love or hate the capitalist society we live in, but ultimately it's hard to refute that it does not reward people who make themselves valuable to society, right? That's the very backbone of this entire system. So if you just find ways to make yourself valuable to other people, then you'll just win. And yeah, the grind up there is, you know, amazing fun. I can attest to it firsthand, and just everyone I know that's still grinding away. You know, they do enjoy it to an extent. It's good just seeing your resources grow. You know, your resources grow. Like, you know, you're like this, I don't know, 10th century peasant or like lord, just seeing your lands expand, and seeing more stuff which eventually becomes yours. You know, your house becomes bigger and bigger and everything. Like, it's a good feeling, and I can only attest to how well you will all feel when, you know, grinding upwards as opposed to stagnating or, you know, blackpilling. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoy stories like this, do subscribe. I've got plenty coming. This one was the least spicy of all. I've got way more spicy real life and corporate stories to share with you guys. And yeah, hope you have a good one, lads. Take care. Don't be too harsh on yourselves. And yeah, cheers. Bye.